Hey, welcome to LegionDestroyer versus Atamek. They've just started. Let me change the title. Forgot about that. There we go. And it's going to be 10 games again. So a lot of Crazy House World Championship action in the last few days. Happy about that. And we got so far. Let me quickly check. It was bishop g5 game, and the bishop got pushed back to g3. And Legion likes to play with this bishop g5 setup. It's a really it's a setup where you can play sort of logical moves, I guess, and then wait for your opponent what to do. And then try to make use of the weaknesses in the position. And now he noticed that h5 might be useful. On the other hand, he has to watch out for anything here, and maybe a bishop coming to g4. So all in all, this opening looks like it has interesting stuff for both players. Just a reminder, the match was supposed to start at 6, so at 6 my time they started a few minutes early, so just rushed in to get the commentary going. Just a reminder that I'm streaming this on delay, so the players don't have any advantage of following me on stream or looking at the stream, because that will just take too much time. And it's a 10-game match, so first to 5.5 points wins the match, and if it's 5-5 tie, then we have a best of 2 games every 2 games, so both players get equal white games, equal black games. Hey, Kadask, welcome. It's already some interesting attack going on by atamek, sacrificing 2 knights, and Legion deciding to go for the bishop. And this discovered check, he may have underestimated it. Not only does the queen hang next move, there's also pressure on f3. If you block, for example, with the bishop here, some pawn at f3 can come. So Legion decides to sidestep. But now a move like queen at e1 becomes available later. So you have to take the rook with the rook. And I'm thinking that atamek is saying, okay, if you take on h6, I go king h7, and then my king should be relatively safe, at least for a couple of moves. But now it might be interesting to go knight takes h6, and king h7 you go bishop h7, because there's only a queen to block with. So maybe it was okay to go in between like that, and then force some move like knight g6, and the knight is worse on g6 than on e5. And if the king moves to either of these squares, you can take the bishop, or you can take the knight with the bishop with check, and that's also helpful. So I would have liked to see knight takes, maybe. But maybe it was also too dangerous, I don't know. I guess now, it was suggestion by Operaways that the queen at d1. And if you take, then you have no mating threat in 1, and you have queen at g7 maybe. So yeah, not that easy. Okay, playing h3, pushing the knight back and maybe opening the rook. And also if the knight moves, there's this king h2 idea if there ever comes a queen on f1. Okay, so now we have this idea that we saw before, but indeed now the queen at g7 is a threat. So I think now Legion should be able to take over. Yeah, h takes g. I'm guessing now bishop takes. Maybe you have now some line with bishop h7. Bishop h7 is some sort of move, maybe. He's going king h2, but bishop h7, and if you take, you had rook takes h6. And if you go king h8, you can just take the rook, I think. And there was also knight f6 and knight e7, as pointed out in the chat. Happiness Bunny, hi. No, the score is 0-0. This the 5-3 below is their the previous matches from other tournaments or something like that. So we are in time for the first game, and already it's looking like a very nice matchup so far. And LegionDestroyer finding rook at g7, and that's going to be mate. Yeah, I think atamek missed some chances maybe. And Legion just finishes cleanly. Well done. I'm begging Legion backing him to win this match as well, but atamek is no weak sauce. He's 2300 as you can see here, but he has also been around 2500 later, earlier in the early days. I don't know if he is active that much, but he's really a force to be reckoned with. Yeah, so this is a line that LegionDestroyer plays more often, and the idea is here that you could go knight takes c7 in some lines, but then your bishop is hanging on c4. And if your bishop is not on c4 but instead of on d3, same thing would have occurred. But then you walk into a bishop at c3 later on. Okay, so rook b1 played, and that's logical, but now now this position is okay for black, I feel. I think a move like queen e3 is not necessary, but might be good here to disrupt some things. Especially now he blocked with the bishop, because the bishop should most of the time go to c1 to annoy the queen and get the rook not to take b2. So I would have liked the check in between, disrupting the position, making your opponent think about where to block, and then you can maybe capitalize on a wrong blockading move. Okay, without thinking, taking on g7. I don't know if he's going to take back now. We have this bishop at c1 move, as I pointed out before. And this is a nice trick. You play here first, and then you can take the rook if you want. You can also play queen e7 first, or some move like knight takes d4. The rook isn't running away, and if it does run away, you have pawn at d2, and you have a really strong bind on the king. And the knight on g7 it looks dangerous, but it's actually not doing anything. I even think maybe queen g5 here might be an idea. Looks risky, but he's going for it. Because if queen takes d4, you just go queen d2. So yeah, this has to be played. And now, yeah, I thought queen takes g2 was okay. But maybe it was, yeah. If you take here, then pawn at d2, so you have to take with the queen if you want to take this one. Yeah, and then there might be some queen takes g1, rook takes g1, knight at f3, king f1, pawn e2, and take the queen. And if the king goes to g2, you can also take the queen. Yeah, Legion asking if he missed queen at e3, but I think the king may have had shape square on f1. Not sure. Okay, so he just goes pawn at d2, and not for my queen takes g1 idea. I think it's still possible next move. Okay, now knight at c1 definitely. That's just mate in 2, or mate close to mate. Not mate in 2, but it's just mate in a couple, because you promote this one to knight, and you are clearing the king, and then you rook e1. Yeah, okay, so this was definitely not a good reaction. But yeah, atamek being outplayed there in the opening, thinking knight takes d7 was enough, but he just got outplayed after that. So here we have the same opening again by LegionDestroyer. And he now, I think black now took on d3 instead of going for h6 g5. But he got an okay position last game. But yeah, maybe just not feeling like playing the same thing again. And here you have this weak pawn on d3. And white might try to pressure on c7. This is just positional crazy house here. White usually goes for knight e5, yeah, and black tries to go c5. Maybe trade a couple of pawns to play h6, but usually I tend to like these positions for white. Because pawn at h6 is such a useful move, and if you play h6 you take on g6, and then these light squares become a bit weak. So okay. But atamek doing the right thing to counter this, attacking on his own. Always a good idea to counter attack when you're under attack. Now he might be thinking about taking here. It looks really risky to allow something like knight at h6. So yeah, he's just taking back with the bishop. And now I think you should just defend this bishop. Let's say with bishop at d8 or bishop at f6, e7. Oh, he's just accepting that he's going to have a hole. Might be fine. I guess maybe he wants knight at g5 now. Hey, Matsumiya. A knight at g5 has a nice trick. Not now. The knight is on the knight on g4 and e3 are defending f2. So that's okay. Hey, thanks for the follow, the guy downstairs. So Now atamek is defending for a while and Legion is just attacking the dark squares. And say a LegionDestroyer is saying, if you take this, I'll take back with the pawn, and I have an open F file. Nothing to worry about. Actually, only helping me. The bishop can come back to G5 maybe. But just pawn F4, bishop H4. Should be fine. Okay, now he's walking into knight at F6. I don't know about knight at F6. It's still an idea. Yeah, now you're losing the queen. But he's not even taking the queen, he's just taking the pawn, and maybe that's fine as well. I thought maybe he's a bit scared of bishop takes e3, but just taking the queen should be totally winning. But now you're just threatening to take this, and there are not a lot of pawns left, so you just go bishop at f6, pawn at g7 stuff, and you win a bit. You win in that way, and that's okay, and totally safe as well. No need to complicate. Could also just be that Legion completely missed it. Yeah, so now if you go rook takes h6, he's taking on g7, and if king takes g7, bishop at f6, and rook at g7 wins. Rook at g7 forces king h8, and now just take this one, and next take this one, and you win the game. Okay, he blocks on g7 first, so now you take, and you go bishop at f6. A lot of possible mates here. Yeah, this is going to be over, and black resigns. Was made in a couple of moves. Okay, so quick 3-0 here by LegionDestroyer. Well done. For the match, it would be good if atamek bounced back this game, but already he's not played knight c3 the most, how do you call, most precise way or most challenging way to play against e4, e5. And Legion has now relatively easy development. All the pieces are on normal squares. d5 is covered, f5 is covered. This knight on e1 is a bit, it's just doing nothing, only defending f3. So now you need to find a way to improve your position here. And improving your position could be connecting your rooks, maybe put a rook on g8 as is suggested in the chat as well by Karask. You just go king here, rook here, and g5, and you're play a slow attack, but Legion doesn't like that idea and just goes for some trades and says, okay, I'll then have a favorable position. So atamek wants a pawn trade, so he can put a pawn on f5 maybe to get this bishop out of the way of attacking h3. Okay, so now e3 is attacked, so you have to do something about this knight. You could just cover, but you could also just take or go knight f5. Okay, he's covering with bishop at d2. Now we have Legion sacking here and going queen h4. Queen h4. after the rook moves. Queen h4 and then take f2 maybe. Ah, that's a nice comment. Legion is uncastling his king. I mean, atamek is uncastling his king. Rook back to h1 and the king to g1. Okay, but now Legion has used most of his pieces, and if atamek has time here, he might be able to take over, because Legion has no pieces left in hand. So maybe atamek can capitalize upon that. So he now is trying to make the take happen, so h7 becomes open. And if some bishop g6, he might wants to go knight e7 and take. So watch out for queen h7 mate. Yeah, so I'm guessing he's going to play knight e7. Maybe he's pawn at f5 in mind. And just remember, this knight check also works if there is a piece on f5. But you could also just take with the knight and then take with the queen. And preserve the knight in hand. Let's see if there's something in the position. You could play knight f6, but then the king just goes away. If you take it, queen at g7, of course. So maybe you can take this knight. It's also being suggested to maybe play knight takes h6. I think, yeah, this seems like the a good idea. Maybe bishop at f6 was also an idea. I think this is good as well. Hey, thanks for the follow, Maheshki. But just 2 pawns in hand for LegionDestroyer here. Yeah, now maybe. Oh, he's just taking all the pieces. I think he's safe to do this. I feel like taking with the queen was better, but okay. Because now the knight is not on square to make some check happens, and if you go queen takes f5, you threaten mate here, you threaten queen, knight at g6. That's almost unstoppable. I realized what I'm missing something. I missed if you take with the queen, you have knight at h4. Hi Maheshki, welcome to the chat. So I missed this one. Okay, so how to play this? Bishop at f6 threatens mate, of course. You take here and you can push the king up and you go knight f6 and queen h5 to win the game. So you could try maybe pawn h3 and then take the rook to defend. Take with the rook to defend, and you're also threatening to put a piece on f1. There's also maybe the option of going f3. Don't know about f3. Might be bad. To put a knight on f4. Okay, so now if you go knight takes g7, you're probably running into a couple of checks. Now the king is now away from the g-file, so the knight can go anywhere. And no bishop at g2, and even then you can probably take the king and walk all the way to h6. Okay, he's playing bishop here. But now the king, the black king is surrounded by 3 pieces, but he still seems sort of safe. That's funny. Wow, this is extremely complicated in time trouble. Oh, that's just a free knight. Now it should be game over. Knight at g5, he finds it. Why? What is he doing? It's probably still okay for atamek, but he's just missing so many mating chances here. Rook at h8, queen at g7, so easy. It felt like he was playing like there was no increment, but he was. If you play 3 quick moves, you have a lot of time to think again. Compared to how big of the time trouble you just had. But okay. Atamek takes it in the end, and that's good for the match, because now he's on the board and he can try to take away the feeling of being 3-0 down. And if he fights back this game, it's basically a 3-2, and he has a white turn next, and white is somewhat of an advantage in Crazy House. He plays a quick e5. That's a brave decision, usually, but I find that that if white is slow playing a bit, I also tend to slow play with white sometimes, these kind of positions, and just push for e5. Ooh, now this is asking for bishop takes h2 and queen h4. I think queen h4 was maybe already really strong. Followed by knight at g4. So queen h4 now prevented, but there is now a new target. So maybe pawn at h4, knight at f5, trying to go for the dark squares, because you have control over the light squares, but you cannot really break in on f3 because it's covered like 4 times. So you try to take over the dark squares. There's only one defender. Okay, he's still trying on the light squares. Yo by AP. Hard name to pronounce. But yeah, a lot of diagonal stuff. Yeah, these diags are over here are going to be important, I feel, indeed, this game. And I felt like queen h4 earlier. Okay, but Legion is now sacking his rook. Yeah, as expected. And you take with the knights. And that's a lot of material for black, so he could be happy with that. Don't feel like taking with the queen is good, because knight at g4, followed by pawn h4 maybe. Don't like queen takes f1. I would have played knight takes f1, I guess. And then sack my queen for the knight here. Maybe, or just go king h1 then. Oh, and again, I'm suggesting pawn at h4, but the stream is on delay, so atamek cannot hear me. So he's just coincidentally playing the moves I suggest. Abi he sits is the way to pronounce. Okay, I'll try. Or just maybe Abby. That made it easier. Yeah, so now you have to calculate this. Takes, rook h2, king g1, takes f2, queen takes, rook h1, knight takes f2, something like that. But if you don't feel like calculating that, you can also just go queen h6 maybe. Or just queen e7, of queen f6 and queen h6. That seems... Or just take the pawn, actually, also very viable. If he wants to take here, you go rook h2 and take the bishop with a dominating position still. Atamek taking his time here, considering the option. And finally going for queen g5. And just putting his queen to safety. Yeah, so now knight f3 is allowed, so maybe queen f6 was... Problem with this is that if you allow this, there's some knight at e7, queen at g8 mating threat. You have to be careful to not walk into that. Okay, so you always have rook h2 takes, pawn takes, rook h1. Okay, take a breather now. If you take this knight, there's bishop at h4, and take the knight back to be safe. Ah, no, mate is coming. Legion will see this. Yeah. You have to go for bishop h4 ideas. The mate was not on the board, but that's a classic variation on the classic smothered mate, where you have knight comes to e7, and you put the queen on g8, and then the rook has to go to g8, and you take with the knight on f7. I guess that's a missed chance for atamek. Okay, so 4-1. Atamek going for a quick bishop sacrifice, and following it with knight f3. And usually I feel like this should be fine for black, these kinds of positions, but you have to be careful. And Legion just sensibly going for a pawn at f6, taking away the knight squares, putting the king on g8, and then he will continue developing. But for example, you already have an idea you could have walked into is by going something like bishop at h5 and allowing knight g5. Still might be okay for you, but now the king is just on g8 and looks okay even after a move like queen e8 or something. But atamek playing quickly, that's good, because he's already a minute up. And he's just a piece for a pawn down, so not that bad. So, yeah. The bishop going to b4, I don't know if I like that decision. It has to be developed, of course, but it's now not helping the defense. Okay, but it is giving the king the square f8, so that helps. So how would you go to continue this? I think, yeah, just try to put a pawn on g7 and win the rook. And this looks tough to deal with. Because pawn on g7, yeah, you could try bishop f8 back, but that's bishop f8, pawn f7, take. And if you put a pawn on g7, he just takes king g7, pawn h6. And as soon as the king goes to f7, you have knight e5 and taking the bishop. Okay, so he wants king f7 here maybe. And now the bishop is covered, so no king f7, no knight e5 ideas. But it is a free rook here. Queen takes rook at g7. And if you don't take, for example, move, then rook takes c8 or c7 is really tough. And if you do take, white is lacking some material, but he can try to trade quickly. For example, with again a knight e5 or knight g5 idea. Yeah, this looks rough for a LegionDestroyer. His pieces are clumped up. He has an extra piece, okay, but atamek has nice pieces as well. Playing d5, opening up this, and maybe bringing the queen in. And if you take, there's maybe even pawn e6 as an idea. Just trying to create more weaknesses in the position. I think he's going to play pawn e6 soon. But this is also strong. You threaten to take this bishop, which is a nice defender. Okay, and atamek now has to use his time a bit to find the best moves. And he found an idea here that's probably too strong to deal with. Pawn f7, rook e7, both really strong threats. You can just go pawn f7 here and win the queen. You can also go queen f8. That's forced mate in a couple. Queen f8, trade, queen f7 is mate. Good game by atamek. Well played. Maybe an unsound bishop sacrifice, but Legion didn't defend correctly. There we go. Yeah. And now we have another game. And LegionDestroyer knows this stuff. This is a bit of a frivolous opening, you could say, with black. If you try to be fancy and go pawn d4 and take, for example, take the knight on d5. I think, yeah, I like this comment by Kadask. It's my favorite bad line for black. Yeah, I find myself going back to this also too often. They're just fun ideas in the opening. Some knight sacrifices. But LegionDestroyer is playing it correctly. Just to point out, if you attack the queen here with knight at f6, you walk into queen takes f7, knight at g5, and a checkmate will follow. Okay, so you cannot take the bishop now because of mate, and probably it's also still not good to go knight f6. Because of queen takes f7. Maybe now queen takes f7 isn't mate. Okay, so queen f6 played another defender to f7. And if you go knight takes f7, I think he's going to go knight takes f3. The white king is fine on d1. But just to be safe, pawn at f4 is played. But okay, now the bishop can be taken. And a move like bishop a6 might be interesting here, to make use of this diagonal, and then some knight at g2 ideas. Felt really really interesting. But now knight d5. That seems rough. c7 is hanging. Especially c7 is especially hanging after knight takes e6. And the queen is also hanging. And the problem is now if you go bishop a6, probably queen sacrifice takes, knight takes f6, queen c6, picks up the rook. But okay. Problems to solve here, and might be too many. Yeah, I might play bishop at c6 here, and just allow this. Take back with the bishop, so you threaten the queen. But okay, he defends with bishop at b6 and says, okay, take my queen, I'll take back with the pawn, and if you go knight takes e6, I'll take with the bishop, and it's fine. Or at least I might have some bishop takes f2 ideas later on. But he spent like how many minutes? Oh, you cannot really see. Okay, felt like almost under a minute and a half on bishop at b6. But this, yeah, also an option. I guess knight at d8 now is a good way to go. King should still be okay on d1 with the queen, as long as the queen is so yeah, you can just take one of these pieces, or you can go queen f7, take queen takes f6 and take the rook. It's also a possibility, but he just takes e6 with the knight. And now he's threatening knight f5, knight d5, queen f7, queen d7. Take your pick. So he's played pawn d2 to lure the queen away from the defense of e6, but still there should be a mating idea here. Yeah, bishop f5, queen e6, king here, pawn h6. Okay, he's complicating matters a bit, but pawn h6, king g8, knight takes f6 is still mate. Also with the queen. Okay, so LegionDestroyer on 5-2. Needs one more win to take this. Let's see if Legion decides to go for the same line. Atamek is not going bishop c4. So Atamek deviating already. Yeah, so knight g4. You could castle there as well and then allow knight takes g2. But just rook g1 seems fine as well. Now your king is stuck in the center for a while. You might have to go defend it a bit, or go bishop g5, queen d2, and castle this way. Hey, okay. Thanks for the follow, by the way, at high1. Okay, so we trade on c6, and the knight is coming to e5. And the bishop on f8 is not developed yet, so knight takes f7 sacrifices are always a bit more scary. If the king cannot run to f8. As a rule of thumb, when your king can run to f8, you should not be that scared of sacrifices. Of course, you need to defend correctly, but with the bishop on f8, sacrifices on f7 are usually more powerful. Again, as a rule of thumb, not always. Okay, but Legion traded on f3, and Atamek decided to take back on f3. And now bishop at b6 played, aiming here. Following up with knight at g4 maybe. Ooh, now would take on f2 immediately. Because of this trick, bishop takes, and then you take here, and then like this, and bishop h4 picks up this piece again. But the LegionDestroyer deciding to play solid with pawn at f6. And now we have equal material. Bishops in hand. Aiming at b7 maybe. Ooh, this drops a piece. With bishop at b5. Ooh, that's a rare. I don't know atamek that well, but bishop at b5, he should see that. And Legion should see it as well. And now knight takes b2. He can save his knight. Now he's a pawn, so maybe he can try for pawn at d5. At some stage to block off this bishop, but he's just trying to protect his knight and allowing bishop takes b7. Alright, thanks for the follow, Secret Grandmaster. So yeah, yeah, it's still hard to call, but I think Legion now is a bit better in this position, especially since he found a nice trick here. Knight takes d3, and now pawn here. You take here, and you take the knight, and you have knight at c2. If you take with the queen, you may have knight at b1, chopping away at the defense. So I like it for Legion now. So knight at b1, queen moves, or you win the queen. Rook at b1, I don't know. Ooh, does this work? Ah, knight h6 is mate, yeah. I'm close to mate, at least. So here we have the classic smothered mate if you go here. And now what is the way here? Pawn at g6, g7, okay. He finds it. This should be more than enough, even if it's not mate instantly, but it's gonna be. Atamek takes it. 2-5-3. High secret again, Grandmaster. Yeah, so Atamek going h6, preventing bishop g5. Very Grandmaster-like stuff. I don't like the pin, so I'll go h6. Of course, it's probably not so good, but Legion immediately going knight e5 and looking for knight takes f7. But I think he should just keep continuing development with e3, bishop d3, and queen f3, something like that. This bishop is going to be passive for a while. This one really belongs on g4, f5. But yeah, it cannot go there, so probably he's going to go. He's going to play bishop b7, and then he can try for knight e4 to put some blockade. So how to play this as white? The knight b5 is an idea to trade this one and then try to go create something. Suggested in the chat is also to push your kingside pawn. It's also a good idea. Scat Fox, yeah, thanks. I'm trained. I've been in this game for a while, so I see stuff quickly, but I'm also still missing a lot of moves. And I find it easier to commentate, or I see more things when I commentate, I feel like, than when playing myself. Okay, so h4 played, and also bishop takes h6 played to try to go pawn at g5, forcing some issues with the knight on f6, and also maybe opening the h file. And this is a really strong sacrifice. Ooh. Taking on e5 might be necessary, but doesn't look good. Just take the knight, yes. And bishop g5, I think. Or knight h5. Takes knight h5. And the queen has no square to go to. Yeah, he can go to d8, but then probably queen g4. Okay, bishop b4, check in between. Made him use the bishop. That might be something. But then again, if you trade, it isn't that helpful. And where do you go with the bishop? Bishop d6 probably just takes. Because white needs two diagonals. Pawn at h7 and pawn at g7 wins the game. So maybe closing off this diagonal with e4 was a better idea. But yeah, then the bishop was still in hand. So takes and e4 might be. Okay, now we have this. Taking very quickly on e5. I thought knight at h5 was crushing. But now you have queen takes, you have bishop at d4, and you're losing the queen. Because if you move the queen somewhere, the pawn at h7 is made. So this is game over. Also, no queen sacrifice is working here. So you could just take back. And the bishops and knight are covering all the light squares, which means the knight cannot drop with check without being taken. It's okay, the queen is sacrificed now, but now, yeah. Okay, pawn g6 prolongs the game for a couple of more moves. But it looks really dangerous. How to finish though? I guess pawn f6 is something. Pawn f6 threaten mate. And if bishop at h8, you go knight here. Okay, but he's going for knight f6 and pawn g5, I guess. Okay, pawn e7. And now promote to knight. Yeah, the king can run to e7. Maybe just take this pawn. Yeah, he finds it. Because now you threaten pawn d6, pawn at e7, queen at d6 mate. And that was his plan, I think. Or the other way around with pawn g7. Alright, LegionDestroyer winning the match. Good game. Well played. Legion getting there with 3 quick wins in the beginning, and then the match became entertaining for us, because atamek bounced back with a couple of wins, but LegionDestroyer managing to win his white games. Alright, nice performance by LegionDestroyer. Let me open up the bracket. Because this was a match from the lower side of the bracket, which means that LegionDestroyer now still in the tournament, and atamek is out of the tournament, sadly for him. Let's see, where are they? Already pretty far in the brackets. Oh yeah, here. So LegionDestroyer 1663, and he is now awaiting an opponent from the match between Little Plotkin and Art of Deception. So that means most likely he will face Little Plotkin next, and this match right here will be for a candidate spot. So if you win this one, you go to the candidates. So LegionDestroyer has a chance at the candidates in the next couple of weeks, I guess. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. It's shaping up. We're almost at the face of the candidates, and we have in the losers bracket at least. And there are a couple of more matches needed to be played in the top brackets for a candidate stage as well. Next Wednesday we have Penguin GIM versus Variants only. I think around this time, maybe an hour later. Yeah, an hour later. I won't be there, but maybe OKE or maybe even Jan Lee will try to commentate on that. Let's check. Oh yeah, and last night, congrats to King Switcher. He crushed 6-0. Wow, good performance. He crushed Jeremy Durham. I was thinking King Switcher should win that indeed, but 6-0, that's really strong. Nicely done. And Master 10 Mugwort is not scheduled yet. But we had some nice matches already, and the level of play, of course, is going to be high right now because all the strong players are remaining in the tournament, playing each other. And we'll see upcoming week what we have. I'm going to leave it here, guys, for now. I'll probably play the monthly arena tomorrow, or at least for a bit. So maybe I'll see you then. And for now, have a good day wherever you are.